Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. We're here. We're back at it again, and we're going to get on into it. But before we do, as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And with that being said, here's a quick word from our sponsors.
Organic herbs and botanicals, skincare and edibles, wellness for body and mind. The Brothers Apothecary. Fine teas and remedies. Ronald Records. From indie gems to classic hits, discover the heart of local music. With live shows all the time, up close and personal, and regular releases on their in-house label. Ronald Records. Supporting the community, one track at a time.
All right, thank y'all so much for watching. Again, shout out The Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into it. Here is today's guest.
Hi, guys. I'm Vanport.
Hello. Thank you so much for joining us. Why don't you tell us a little bit about, who you are, where you're from, what you do, give us that, Tinder profile of your involvement with music.
So my name is Vincent, go by Vanport, born in Portland. I've been DJing for over 10 years, digging for music since I was a little kid, 4 or 5.
Okay.
Started with just listening to the radio.
Mm-hmm.
My mom would drive around a lot and run a lot of errands, and I'll be in the car and I would switch the dial.
Yep.
I was living in Seattle with her for a while back then, and that was the first time I heard Nirvana and all that stuff.
Gotcha.
So I would switch between the hip hop station to the rock station,
Mm-hmm.
then listen to house music. I think in the 90s, on the hip hop and R&B stations, depending on the time of day, sometimes you'll hear house music too.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more.
Yeah, they were always sneaking it in somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, or my mom be shopping in the mall.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta wait while she tries on clothes. I'll go talk to the lady at the register, ask her what the song's playing.
Gotcha. Okay.
Write it down.
So you've just been hungry for what's been going on musically since you were really little.
Yeah.
I dig that.
Grandma used to get Columbia House music, and
yeah.
ask her to
Yep.
keep the CD. They get you with the. You can get 20 CDs for 99 cents, and then after that,
I think it was even less than that at one point. I think it was a penny.
I think the 20 would. I think they it was something crazy that.
Yeah, it was.
They just wanted your credit. Well, the way it worked is they want your credit card information so that if they keep sending you CDs and you don't send them back,
Mm-hmm.
then they just charge you.
Yeah.
And the CDs from them was probably more expensive than going to the store. I think it was probably $20.
Yeah. It was an interesting business model. Hence why it's probably not around anymore.
I mean, also CDs don't exist anymore.
That's true.
I mean, Sam Goody. I mean, they kind of exist, but Sam Goody. Was it FYI or FYE?
Oh man, I'm not from here originally, so our stores might have been different.
I mean, definitely Sam Goody was a lot of places.
That one was around. Tower Records.
Tower Records, yeah.
That was another one. But growing up, I had Rasputin. That was where we went for all our music.
I ain't never heard. That's some regional stuff.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's the
Rasputin.
cool, when you wanted more modern music, more regular. We went to Borders. Remember they had the biggest music selection.
Is it on a bookstore?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they had a
they did have
huge music collection. They always had the more interesting ones, Barnes and Noble as the what everybody wants. Some of the records are cool now. I'll give credit where it's due.
I forgot about Borders. You're right.
Yeah.
Borders was popping. I remember just back in the day, you literally could go, when the album dropped, you can go to the listing station and listen to it.
Yeah, just check it out.
My one of my life hacks, though, when it came to getting music, though, was going to the Portland Library.
Yep.
Just ripping them on the computer.
Oh.
What was crazy was whoever lived near the library on Killingsworth by Jeff,
mm-hmm.
I don't know who it was, but they would get all the Doom, the Mad Libs, and the Quasimodo stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I first came across Quasimodo. And
you could find some of the coolest stuff in public libraries, and my high school library actually had the wildest stuff.
Really?
Yeah. Great. I was in the Bay Area, so everything was a little more like, they were a little more open, but like I read the Akira mangas for the first time when I borrowed them from from my high school library, though, not like from the public library even. So that was wild. But we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about you.
No. I like to hear that.
And get back into it, though. Yeah. Growing up, was anybody else in your household musical at all? Like, did anybody play any instruments or do anything?
I feel like my family, you don't know too much about like when they were younger per se. Like they all live many lives.
Gotcha.
You know?
Yeah.
But I mean, they all love music. You know, my mom had me at 15, so I essentially was like, once I became like a young adult, or 18 to 21 and going forward, like I realized like I'm like kind of living this a second time because I already experienced it with my mom.
That makes sense.
And so like my mom would listen to like Tupac and all that kind of stuff, but then also listen to like whatever my grandma was listening to at the time too. Like my grandma and my mom listened to a lot of similar stuff. Mint Condition. I'm sure she took D'Angelo Brown Sugar from my grandma like 3 times. My grandma kept buying the CD.
Yep.
I think my mom, like the CD scratch up, she comes back and grabs another one. My grandma's like, "Where's that CD at?" But yeah, so I would say, yeah, my family musically, they love music.
Okay, so you've had like music appreciation.
Like, I lived in Mississippi when I was little too, and so even with the blues and stuff like that, my grandpa Fat listened to Fats Domino and all that stuff, and and I've noticed that blues is kind of having this resurgence right now.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it's getting to be that time. Everything kind of, what is old becomes new, especially in music.
I just never thought blues would be popping like that for like a younger, like from a younger age bracket,
Well, like even, what was it, like late 2000s, early 2010s, like the like folky and bluegrass sound started to come back pretty strong.
Yeah, you're right.
Within the realms that like already existed for us as more like prominent things. So like I said, I think everything kind of circles around after a while. But before we get into more of what you're doing with music in the now and more of just what you do in general, I do have a couple foundation questions I like to check in with everybody on.
Okay.
And this first one's one we ask early, it's one we ask often, and it's definitely a crowd favorite. What was the first album you ever bought with your own money?
It was Jay-Z, was it Hard Knock Life Volume 2?
Okay. Hell yeah. What made you go for that one?
I mean,
I was the obvious.
I don't know, when I was a kid, like, I don't know, how old was I when that happened? I was living in Atlanta at the time, and my mom's friend would, he owned properties, and he would, like, hire me to do, like, yard work. Like, he owned, like, complexes and all that kind of stuff, and, so yeah, with that money, I think, what was the song? I think the song was called Hard Knock Life, where they sample Annie or whatever.
Yeah.
So as a kid, I heard that, and it's a very catchy tune or whatever. That's why I bought it, really.
Okay. Hey, I dig that.
Yeah.
And then what was one of the first live shows you ever went to that was like specifically one you wanted to go to?
No, this is definitely a story. So the first show I ever went to was Eiffel 65.
Whoa.
The only time they came to the U.S.
Okay.
And never came back.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Bruh. So let's see. Was I like in 5th grade? I was trying to get the tickets like when I'm on the radio. And so I think the week leading up to it, every night they were giving away tickets. And so the last night, the night of the show, I was trying to get tickets, and I was like sad because I didn't get them. And I went to go eat dinner with my grandparents. And at dinner, my grandpa pulled out the tickets. And so, mind you, me and my grandpa would pick up my grandma from Wells Fargo. I call her mom too. That gets confusing. I've been raised by a lot of women. So.
You're all good.
It took a village for sure. So we would pick her up from Wells Fargo, and he would let me play my CDs in his car. Okay. So we were listening to Eiffel 65, picking up my grandma, like going downtown in traffic and stuff. He had like a Cadillac I think it was a DeVille, Coupe DeVille, or I get it messed up. But yeah, we was just vibing, and like he always was like, you know, he could appreciate the music even if it wasn't his cup of tea per se. He's like, it's not bad, you know.
Yeah.
I think he started liking it a little bit. So anyways, we went to the show together. Man, I was wearing we were wearing Coogee sweaters and stuff and slacks, and we get in. It was at Roseland. My grandpa is not used to going to shows where you have to stand up, I guess.
Fair.
He was like, what's going on? Yeah, it was dope. I will say, my grandma always brings this up. She's like, you came home so upset. So I went to go get a signature, and all these grown people were just flooding the stage.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man, they're acting like kids. You know, again, I'm in 5th grade.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know, I didn't realize oh yeah, people were drinking liquor and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, you know? It's not really a perspective thing at the time.
But no, that show was great. Honestly,
that's
I used
wild,
to listen
man.
to that CD while reading Harry Potter.
Okay. I mean, there was definitely an overlap there, so that makes sense.
I mean, now that the movie came out, it doesn't really make sense. But before, it's again, I would mispronounce the names of the people.
Oh, I didn't even try.
I used to call Hermione Hermione or some shit. Yeah, so, yeah.
Yeah, again, I didn't even try. I just kind of imagined who they were in my head, and it was just her. There we go. It's her again. It's her. It's her again. There we go.
Yeah. But yeah, that was the first.
That is probably one of the coolest first shows I've heard on this show. So that's rad. Thank you for sharing that. And now, before we get into more of what you do in the present day, do you have a defining moment where you decided you wanted to take music more seriously?
The moment I decided I would so when I was younger, I always wanted to make music. I guess I didn't really have the belief that I could actually do so per se. I mean, I moved around a lot, so I would take classes where at a school where it'd be band class or different things, but I would move so much that I would never.
Yeah, you didn't have time to ground anything,
you know.
Yeah.
But as far as getting into DJing, I remember there was a snowpocalypse, which
yes,
I guess turns into a recurring thing. We can't ever prepare. But it was my homie. Well, he used to go by Gang Signs, but he goes by Ballads now. He used to do a residency called Verified at Holocene, and so he was bringing DJ Slink to town, and everything got snowed in. So they ended up having DJ Slink DJ at this house. They called it Thug's Mansion or some shit. It was actually not far from the library by Jeff.
Okay.
And yeah, so me and my homie Fontaine, we walked a bit, and there was limited bus service, so we caught one bus. I think it was a 72, and then walked to the house. And when I was there, I met Slink. He was cool, and you know, when he was DJing, I was standing by him, and he was on some CDJs or whatever. But at that moment, I understood what I was hearing and what he was doing, and it clicked. I was like, oh, I could do this.
Oh yeah.
So I would say that's a defining moment of me being oh, I'm actually gonna take the leap and do it.
Yeah, I dig that. That's a super solid one. Now getting into the present day, we are going to get a super easy one out of the way first. How'd you pick the name?
When I first started DJing, my name was Virtuous Vice.
Okay.
And that was only because I had this lifestyle brand I was working on called Vice and Virtue. And that was inspired by, I took a morality class, and the book was called Vice and Virtue, Morality in Everyday Life or whatever. And I just realized that both sides of the coin makes you human. And I think I've been on this it's even to this day, this journey of accepting all parts of yourself. But yeah, so like I was making like leather goods with it and that brand, and I wanted to like expand into lifestyle as far as like wellness and things as well. So at the time I was just like, oh, let me just switch it, because I just like put it on Instagram, Virtuous Vice. I guess it wasn't really an official name, really. It was just like, I just need something.
Yeah, you had to put something there.
But as far as Vanport, it's funny because like there's people that have actually tried to like take claim that they're the reason why I chose the name or whatever, which is really funny. As if like the name itself was like the reason why like I became good at what I did. But that's really interesting. But really what happened was, since I moved around a lot, you know, you would miss certain things in school curriculums. But I went to Portland State and I just started taking all these classes that I wanted to take. I wasn't even thinking about my major. I was literally just like, I like this, I like this. So I was doing like, family studies, like conflict resolution. You know, I even took like a womanism class, and I did like a history of like religion from like in spiritual practices like voodoo, Rasta, Islam, all that kind of stuff. And then I took a class. It was like a Oregon Black history type thing. And that's why I learned about the Vanport stuff. And I was like, it's interesting. I'm sure they probably taught it earlier, but I just moved around so much, I'm just assuming I missed it, because I was going between here and Atlanta back and forth a lot. So when I would go other places and I tell people I'm from Portland, up until a certain point, they always said Portland, Maine. Even though Portland, Maine is like not that much of a, I don't know.
Yeah.
So
I think once you get that far over, that's just the one, you know?
So essentially, like, my homie who used to own a Kopi coffee house, it was on Burnside. One day we were talking about names, and I was like, man, I can't come up with a name. And he was actually the one that was like, you know what your name should be? And he said Vanport. And I was like, what? And he's like, for real? And I was like, that makes sense. And it aligned because I always felt like, as I represent Portland when I would go around to different places, you know, it makes sense to do that, because at one point everybody assumed it was Portland, Maine. Yeah. Now they don't even do that. You know, Portland's on the map, right? So that's essentially what happened. It's not a huge story or anything, but I've contemplated changing the name many times. It's just hard to come up with names. Yeah. Well, that, I mean, you know, it's easy to remember. It's easy to spell. It looks good everywhere. Like, I'm sure most people don't even know, though, like, the way it's spelled. Like, somebody came up to me one day and was like, I'm sorry, how do you pronounce it? I'm like, I'm glad you asked. I don't, like, most people, it's like was it subtract? For a long time, I didn't know how to say that. Yeah. Was it Spazzy Rocket? You know, some of those names, I'm like, Baby No Money. Who's that? His name is spelled BBNO$. And it's Baby No Money. And so I think like the way Vanport's spelled out, like VNPRT, is visually appealing. Sometimes I do question, like, is it very marketable when it comes to people speaking about your name, especially when you like go out of the country? You know what I mean? So it's like, well, I mean, I think plenty of other names have gone that way and still gone on to be successful. You know what I mean? Like, I should put myself in their shoes for sure. Yeah. Well, that, and just, you know, I think the name should carry its weight based upon the experience it's attached to, not the name itself. So I think if you're making enough waves in your realm, then the name is going to be carried by the conversation that's attached to the story. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, the story is I'm from here. I was born here. Oh, more, I mean, like, when people are talking about, like, when they're like, oh, I went out last night. I was at this club and Vanport was DJing. Oh, yeah. Like that, you know, that is how. I do have those random moments where I'm like, people approach me and it's almost like on some fanboy or fangirl stuff, and I'm just like, I still from time to time work at a food cart and do other random jobs that artists do, and
I don't think
like,
there's not a lot of talk about how like there is this in between realm where you're still working a regular working experience while also being good at what you do.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I what's the internet? The internet always uses like the Scarface example.
Yeah.
How they all want to, you know, be him, but they don't want to be in the back washing dishes first.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like there's a job funds what you do. I don't understand where in the narrative people are like, oh, you got to not work to be
I think it's
good
less
at
about that. I think for me, I guess what I was getting at was more like there's this feeling of imposter syndrome, right? Of like what you're doing when you align like what you've done up to this point with like your current status of living or your current just situation with and it's like it always happens when I'm like not feeling like I'm enough, right?
Yeah.
Somebody comes up and is just like, oh, like I went and saw this dude DJ, right? And he was shocked that I came to see him DJ. He was like, oh my gosh, like I hope it was good. Da-da-da-da. And I'm like, bro, like it was great. Like it's just one of those things where it's like artists are people, regular people, and to be honest, any regular person is an artist.
Yeah.
I think art is a way to communicate your inner self outwardly in some way. I think the commodification of art has made it to where you have to create caricatures and all these different things. And yeah, having characters and things like that can still tell a part of yourself because we're not a monolith. There's so many different parts of ourselves and faces and stuff. But like over the years I've started to gravitate away from wanting to maybe make this a career per se.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the career is going to exist regardless if I want to or not. I think there was a point where I was like, I want to primarily make my living off DJing, and I did do that. Then I fell out of love with it. Did not want to go DJ, did not want to deal with people, did not want to be in an environment around alcohol and just having to deal with the BS a lot.
Now, what started that decline? Like, was there a moment in time where you were like, this is starting to be too much or isn't giving you enough?
I mean, the intentions were wrong. Like, I think anytime people decide, you know, I want to make a living off of doing what I love doing. When I first started DJing, bro, that was therapy.
Yeah.
Literally. Like, I like my homegirl Bijou says she calls it neurospicy because, you know, I feel like most of us are neurodivergent, but I'm definitely on that spectrum. And I realize, like, you know, people get confused sometimes because I'm like, I could be very extroverted, but a lot of times I'm really introverted and I'm not a performer. And that's what I've noticed is like when I DJ, it's literally like me. It's kind of like a way of meditating for me in a way. Like I'm really just focusing on the sonics of the music. And yes, I'm paying attention to people, but it's like, I think nowadays people would rather have a performer, which is fine, you know, because they need to feed off the energy of that said person. Yeah. In order to feel, especially in Portland, it's like if the DJ is, you know, dancing around and stuff, then yeah, the people are more likely going to dance, right? Yeah. I think for me, like, I don't plan out my sets. So when I'm DJing, I'm literally doing it on the fly. Like some people, you know, if they're on tour DJing, they might play the same set, you know, over and over again, or like rotate through a few. Yeah. And also like the burnout came from DJing like 4 or 5 hours, you know, a night or whenever I would DJ, you know, in other markets, they'll like pay by the hour sometimes, you know? Yeah. So like in the Bay, you know, my homegirl told me the running rate in a lot of places was like 300 an hour, and they'll just book, you know, 3 or 4 DJs.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, dang. You know, I think the economy here doesn't allot the space and money for that. And I understand. Like, I see the back end of a lot of businesses here, and it's like, yeah, we could talk about what we deserve, but like a lot of businesses are like failing even if they are perceived successful.
Yeah. Well, there's so much that goes into that too. Like, I mean, circling back to what you said about just how you put the energy into it, I think music in itself is a transference of energy. It's, you know, the movement of speakers and the like adding of electricity to create a signal that goes into the recorded source. That is all, you know, all sound is moving air through energy. And so the person has to exist in that realm. It has to be put there to be picked up. That's why when you hear a song that you can tell somebody didn't put any effort into, it doesn't connect.
I mean,
there's a difference between people being like, oh, I didn't even try with this one, versus one where like you can tell.
But let's keep it real though. Like, most of the most successful songs in people's repertoire are the songs they like the least. At least from the artist standpoint. There's
a difference between appreciation and effort, though.
Well, I mean, also, okay, pop music, right? Like, I'll use this example, like, even from a DJ standpoint. So, like, from a producer standpoint and a DJ standpoint, like, if you want to make a dope song for the masses, it's really not that hard. But the artist in you, are you going to allow yourself to put that out there with your name on it?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, it's not hard to, like, make a beat with no effort, especially with the AI stuff now too.
Yeah.
Like, it just all, you know. So I mean, I hear what you're saying in the sense of like people that truly fuck with the music.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the thing, is like, when I started to like fall out of love with it, people would come up to me and like actually tell me how my sets make them feel, and I realized, damn, they actually get it.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, most people, like, it only takes 1 or 2 people to come and tell you and like see you for who you are, or see the offering you're giving, for you to be like, oh, this is worth it. And I think for me, it's like, that's why I like, there was a point in time I was like DJing like, I don't know, 4 times a week or something like that. And people are like, oh my gosh, that's dope. Like, you're killing it. Like, aren't you excited? I'm like, honestly, I want to play less and make more.
Yeah.
You know, I want to, you know, and, you know, outside of DJing, like, I work with, you know, I do caregiving and respite care with people on the spectrum of autism and all these things. Like, so it's just like, people don't understand, like, and there was a time where, like, when you're DJing, like, you got to go out and support people, you got to do all these things, and I had to, like, stop. That's where the burnout came from too. It's like, you're DJing, and then if they can't pay you what they think you deserve, then they'll try to help you out on the tab, right? So it's like, now you're trying to drink yourself your value,
trying to earn your money,
or whatever, or eat, you know, the value. And so that's where the wellness comes in, where I'm just like, man, my goodness, like, this is not good. Like, I would DJ, you know, till like 2 a.m, and then have to get up at like 6 a.m. to do another job.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Oh, I know that one all too well. All too well.
So, I mean, I think, and again, so when I say misplaced energy or just not directing it, it's nothing against the establishments that have hired me or anything like that. I think it's more so when I said, it's like, you got to be careful what you say. When I was like, I want to make a living off of DJing, you start to take more gigs than you would want.
Yeah.
You would start, like, and then, and you don't think about the energy of the space or the vibe or whatever. You're just like, oh, they're offering this amount of money, I'll do it. Da, da, da. And it got to the point where I've done it enough times where, like, after I finished, I was like, why did I take this gig?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, you're taking it because you're thinking about money.
Yeah.
So
no, and I mean, that's a huge, I think that is the line that everybody tries to walk in the realm of like music occupational jobs. So outside of just being the artist, like if you are like a backup instrument for like, you know, like a wedding band, or like if you are involved in like, you know, soundtracks for like a documentary or a TV show or something. Like there are these things where it's like there is the work attached to the music and then how you can like give yourself to it. And I think you nailed it as far as like what the goal should always be is the less work for equal or more money. So you should have to put in less of your time and have it be valued as more. But also I think within it, there are also lifestyles. Like, you know, some of the most successful DJs are the people who like, they're going to be out super late at night anyways.
That's the thing.
They're there for the party and the scene, and they just happen to be able to make a bunch of money for, you know, doing their thing for a couple hours.
That's where I understood is like, that's why like, I'm not upset about it. That's why I'm not like hating on people's success in a sense. I'm just like, I understand why people are where they are in these situations because that's the space that they like to be in. Yeah. And for me, it's just like, again, like I was circling back to the meditation aspect of like me doing the music. I remember I had like this major breakup, and it was something that really like propelled me on this like healing journey. And it was around the time I started DJing, and so like it really, it's really like spiritual. I'm not gonna lie, and I realized like. As I'm getting older, I'm like, even the homies that used to go out back when I was DJing, they got family, they got kids. Like, you know, I get more joy when I'm DJing with my homies. Like, I used to DJ at like Kenton Club. It's like a dive bar in North Portland. Like, and I would do it on like, I was like every other Tuesday for a long time. And we literally DJ for drink tickets, and I had fun doing it because that's how I was able to hang out with my homies that are married with kids, you know, Michael Specs Records, you know, and we created a thing where people just wanted to get booked and start doing that. So that became a recurring thing. And then Either Or, the cafe off of Williams, like I started booking there. I was like booking DJs for free at the time. They weren't paying anybody, but like Ro, the old owner, she had a dope DJ booth set up, and she was like, yeah, I just want friends to come play. Yeah. And so it started like that. And so I think for me, what I really enjoyed was creating communal spaces. Yeah. More than just the DJing aspect. And so that's where I'm putting my energy now, is like, there are a few places I DJ at, and that's because I want to and I choose to. It's not because, I mean, yes, I do need the bread, but at the same time, it's like, when you don't put all your eggs in that basket, there's other opportunities. And there's so many times where I would book up the months, and then like a bigger opportunity comes, and I've already
you already booked it. Yep.
So that's another thing too. So it's like, you know, shout out to Hey Love, shout out to Daydream and some other spots. But like, Latier Yafe, love that place. I just did a game night there. It's funny because there was a weather warning or whatever. Was that last Wednesday? And they were saying,
it was supposed to be like golf ball hail.
And I'm like, yo, fam, like we had hail, we've had crazy winds before, and they didn't say any warning like that. But it was still a decent turnout for it. Yeah. And honestly, like, we volunteered our time. Like me, my homegirl BG from Oakland, DJ Aspen, we DJ for free.
DJ Aspen.
Yeah, we DJ for free. Like I was like, yo, I literally want to do something that caters towards people to come and just have a good time. It's not about being seen. It's not about, you know, it's literally just show up. We had PS5s, we had, you know, dominoes, spades, all that. And that felt very rewarding to me. And like everybody that came was like, please let me know when the next one is, and da-da-da. And I think that's really what I want to do, is just like focus on those type of things while I'm working on like my actual music and stuff like that. Yeah. But,
and see, I think that is a important thing to be able to acknowledge on your own, because in the world of music, there is, again, everybody's primary concept is they want to be the artist. That is always like kind of where it starts, and then it usually circles around. I mean, I know you jumped into DJing pretty much from the start.
You know what's funny though? You asked me the question about like what got me to DJ. I told you when I realized. Like that epiphany. Mm-hmm. But the reality is, I never wanted to be in the forefront.
Yeah. Well, more
I was like Fontaine. I was like his manager.
Yeah.
You
had said in the beginning too that you like preferred not to be the out loud one, the upfront one.
I feel like God put me in that position. Like I had, like anytime I've like tried to deny being in this position, like I have to start over. Like there's always, anytime I try to invest in somebody else and not myself when it comes to this, it's a heavy reset. And so I had to learn the hard way. It was like, before you start to do for others, you have to pour into yourself.
Yeah.
And you have to know that you are good enough for anything that you want to do. Mm-hmm. And so like I told Fontaine, I told a couple other homies, y'all should DJ. I was like, y'all performing these shows around Portland and like, you know, you're trying to make money from it, but it's like if you perform 4 times a month, then people are going to stop coming. You could DJ 4 times a month. You could play some of your songs and see if people like it or not. Like you do these different things. And it wasn't until I started DJing that they started doing it, but that's fine. I realized that, you know, I feel like a lot of people that know me, they might not like what I say sometimes, but then down the line, they'll circle back and be like, oh shit, I knew what you meant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, you know, my love language and just how I communicate to people I care about, sometimes it'd be very like stern or very whatever, but like, you know, I could come off as like a grandpa, but it's one of those things where I used to feel bad about it, but I realized like, you know, I'm not always right, but I think I understand that like when you're trying to connect with people, it's better just to do it through action.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, he's doing that. I want to do that.
Yeah.
People don't like being told shit. So it's like, all right, just do it. You know, so that even comes with my family dynamic. So
no, and I mean, I feel like there's some through points for a lot of that, but just kind of circling back, I want to finish up the thought I had before.
Oh, my bad.
Okay. So what I was going to say is like, in the beginning, everybody kind of wants to start as the artist primarily. Typically, that is the starting realm. But there's so many other things within the realm of music that still let you attach yourselves to it. Kind of like you were saying about, you know, you can go and perform, but if you also DJ, then you're going to be in the space, you're going to be experiencing it still, even if you are not the front. There's so much that can go into it where it's like, you know, like I don't do a lot of music on the side anymore because I do this full time.
Yeah.
When I first started, I thought I was going to be the next big, you know, thing for what I was doing. But the amount of reward I get from this, like internally as a person, as an individual, nothing to do with monetary value, nothing to do with like accolades, anything like that. But at the end of the day, when I put my hat down, I lay in bed, I always feel like I have accomplished something. And I think that if more people took time to reach out to the things that music connects to and tried some of those things, like you were saying, if they put the time and effort into expanding outside of the realm of just what people are looking at, there's so much that can be given to you in music internally as a person, but also there are a lot of doors that you can open that have nothing to do with that primary role. Like you said, you know, yes, if you are performing, you're out there 4 times a month, nobody wants to see you. If you're DJ, or well, nobody will want to keep seeing you constantly because they know you're going to be everywhere constantly.
The same songs,
But if you're DJing, not only can you be testing out your new music, not only are you out there, you know, doing the job, but those are the same rooms you want to be in anyways. So you could potentially meet somebody who could get you into a new room because they decided to come and hang out at that room. And they wouldn't have if they were like, oh, well, there's this show that I don't know about going on. I'll go in tomorrow when it's just hangout music. So there are a million things that lead to a million places, but everybody's trying to take the one lane. And it's really, I'm curious to see what happens when that expands a little bit.
I feel like it's gonna get to a point where the people that are musicians that make music, the ones that are gonna be left are the people that are doing it because they love it. Mm-hmm. People are starting to realize that they were sold a lie. You know what I mean? In a sense of like I don't know what year you were born. I was born in '88, but like growing up, it was like, oh, doing music, like you could really like do some shit and make money and like have some influence and change some things. And then you realize like the people that get paid the most are the people that are paid to be quiet or not, or have some sort of agenda or, you know, whatever. Like, and then I look at like some of these like underground hip hop artists and stuff like that have like a cult following. Like honestly, I was like, man, I want to be a guy that's like famous somewhere else. Yeah. Like you could leave, like when you're home, you can go grocery shopping and shit, go overseas somewhere, like in Japan, they love them there. And it's like, these cats are still making mad money. And it's like, yeah, you might have sold, you know, 50,000 records or even 10,000 records, but you got a majority of those sales. Yeah. And, you know, versus like a TLC or somebody that got cents on the dollar.
Well, the industry as a whole became so cyclical in a lot of ways. And it really just kind of, now it's gotten to the point where it has almost eaten itself completely. There's so much that's going to be happening. If I were to guess, I'm saying in the next 7 years, we're really going to see this shift happen, kind of from much higher up than we've seen one before. Yeah. And when that happens, it's going to fall apart. That's you know, it's not going to dissolve, but it will be out of sorts for a while. And that is where, like you said, the people who are doing it for the love of it, the people who are like, there is no way for me to fiscally achieve something out of this, but I can't stop. Those artists are going to kind of rise to the top again, and I think we're going to see a new realm of music through that fact. But also, I mean, this is just one humble guy's opinion in his spiffy space where he can say whatever he wants. But like, you know, music as a whole, I think it always kind of circles its way around. And I think right now we are kind of coming to that place. But really cool stuff is going to come from it. Yeah, I think that's the biggest part. Is like,
it's like the tower has to fall, and so that's the thing. Is like, just, I mean, and this is like the music industry is also just a reflection of like everything else going on in the world, right? And I think one thing I do to remind myself is like, yes, I empathize with everything that's going on. At the same time, I'm like, you know, like you said, it's cyclical. These things have been happening over and over again around the world. It's closer to home, so now people, and I'm not saying people didn't care before, but more people care now. Yeah. And
more people are like, informed of everything more now.
I think that's part of the problem too, is like our minds, this is kind of getting away from music. I'm going to say this real quick. Where I see things going is, in order to keep up with all the information that's pushed on you or made available to you, like, they're going to be like, you're going to have to like get a chip and upgrade your brain so that you could actually process. Because we don't even use most of our brain. They're literally going to probably be like, here's a chip so that you actually are using more processing power of your brain to retain such information, to micromanage, to work like a computer. Yeah. So I do think it's important to like take a reset and like not be around. Like, I'm guilty of being on my phone all the time. You know what I mean? Like, I know I don't need to be on my phone all the time. But it's kind of hard when you have to communicate with people all the time via messaging, email, checking IG, because, you know, you know, my inbox sucks. Like, I scroll back, like, it was like, what, 2 months or a month or something, and I scrolled back and I got back to you. I was like, oh, my bad, bro.
You're all good.
But, yeah, I think, we need to go back to storytelling, and I think most musicians were storytellers.
Yeah. Well, literally, that used to be like, you go far back enough, like back in the ye old days, like people would travel from place to place doing music to talk about what was happening.
Yeah.
They were literally like, oh, 2 towns over, this is the news. And in exchange, they got to stay somewhere for the night and they got fed. So like it kind of fed itself in that way. But also, oh my God, I had something. Oh, kind of to your point about how you were saying, and I guess, we're really off the rails at this point. We're just going to keep running with it. I heard something the other day where they were like, meditation is more important right now because of all the things, because there's literally from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep, our brain is processing information, and it was never meant to. Like that's not the point. So now meditation is so much more important because it allows your brain to breathe. Whereas before it was useful, but it wasn't as impactful overall because people had that in their regular life, whether they were, driving to work and they didn't have a radio in their car or something to play along, or they were just walking. People used to just get out and go walk.
Or the fact that TV went off at 8 p.m. or something
they'd be like,
that.
Hey, it's 9 o'clock. Do you know where your kids are? Yeah. So the world, sources and things like that used to turn off at some point. Now they don't. There's literally this 24-hour news.
So 24-hour trauma bonding with your TV.
Exactly. And I think that even that attaches itself into music as well, though. And I mean, I'm going to pull it back a little bit. The introduction of streaming music, the iPod, the opportunity to have trillions and trillions and trillions of songs at your disposal. At a certain point, the conversation became, I've got X thousand songs in my pocket. And people are like, well, yeah, but I've got X thousand.
I would say this, though. The iPod era, that was before, I'm going to say before iPod came out, there was a streaming thing that they tried once that I don't think a lot of people remember. But I remember at one point, Real Player had came out with a streaming platform. It didn't last that long, though.
No.
But essentially, when Spotify came out, I'm like, this is literally what Real Player was.
Yeah.
It was the exact same thing. It wasn't, Real Player was its own thing, but they had a streaming thing. And it was it might have been for a year or two. But I was in Atlanta at the time, and I was like, "Oh, this is dope." But I think with the iPod thing, though, was you still had to buy the music.
That was
you still had
in between, because the iPod also happened around the time LimeWire happened.
Yeah,
where them and Napster were like, "Hey, get all your stuff from here," and then streaming. People were like, "Oh shit! Well, at least if we go streaming, we have control over how many you hearing it still."
Which is the downfall.
No, and that's what I'm saying. It's
the industry that you're talking about. It's they literally set up their own downfall.
Well, streaming as a whole, in theory, great idea. Not. I mean, I've been using Spotify since a year after it came out, so part of the problem. But the issue with streaming services is now you have all of the music. You may not have listened to it, you may not have downloaded it, you may not have clicked on it, but regardless, all of the music that exists on Spotify is available through your device of some sort. So
as somebody that went through the LimeWire age and shit that.
Hold on. LimeWire had its benefit to where you still had to decide. You had to take it, and it was a tangible thing. But the big issue, I think, that streaming has introduced is that it makes it to where you have too many options all the time. Then you have to decide between your all-time favorite and this other thing, just because the other thing is there, just because you saw a notification telling you that the new Japanese Breakfast album came out. So why would you go and put on Demon Days when you could listen to this new album that you weren't even in the mood for at the moment, but the notification told you that it had come out, and you would set up the notification, so you have to listen to it now. I
mean, what's the difference between the notification coming out and them telling you this, the album's dropping, you go to Sam Goody to preview it one time? I guess my thing is that somebody that's
the preview doesn't go home with you.
I feel that, but I don't.
You intentionally went somewhere.
I don't think that's a problem though, because I think from an artist standpoint though, the probability that more people will hear your shit is higher now than before. The issue is that more people are making music that shouldn't be making music.
Well, I mean, just running back to it real quick. more what I'm trying to make the point of is that the over availability of too many things lessens the totality of worth on things that you may have otherwise prioritized. Like when you choose to go to a record store, yes, you can preview. You can take that 30 seconds here, that snippet of the song, but you have to buy it. Once you buy it, you have it. You go home and you experience it. And you develop those moments with that piece of media, with that tangible item. But even, when it got to the iPod, you still had to pick the ones to be on there. Your decision, the act of putting it on there to be able to be like, I actively want this.
What's the difference between that and making a playlist though on there? Because I'm telling you right now, like I have Spotify, I have Tidal. I only have Spotify because my mom has me on the family plan. I don't really support them like that. I have Tidal and I have Apple Music. I literally would listen to the same shit over and over again to the point where I'm like, oh, I need to go explore. Like the algorithm isn't like, if anything, the algorithm is trying to stick too much to what I've already listened to, where I would rather them sprinkle in some shit new that I want.
It has great stuff for that though, like their Discover Weekly.
No, I do that.
Yeah, they're the Release Radar. Those things are like I won't listen to music.
I'm just saying, like, there's
until that.
I think I agree with you in a sense of like people like you and I, but I'm also realizing most people aren't you and I when it comes to how we connect with music. I do think streaming sucks to a certain extent because I love physicals, but that's why I still support local, record shops.
Yeah.
I just can't afford it right now. I just
more it's that I guess I'm not trying to argue the fact that should it be there or not. It's already here.
We can't even afford it. This is the reality is like it's a bigger conversation of like, can people today afford buying CDs like people did back in the day?
I don't think we need to buy 1 million CDs.
But we're not. You got to think about it. People are getting a bunch of songs with a cost of one CD.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like that is where it has impacted the internal worth of the song to a degree.
So the issue is subscription based, but it's not just Spotify. Everything's subscription based now.
Yeah, well, I think the over availability of music hinders the ability to seek out music in the real world. Like,
I just don't think most people care to seek out music in the real world. I know a lot of people
now they don't have
to it. I think the issue is that most people would listen to it on the radio or something like that. Like the way that you and I talk about music, most people that I talk to that aren't like in like are about music the way that we are, or like even homies that I grew up with that love music, when they get older and they work all the time and they have kids, they're not seeking the music as much as they did before. Like my dad put me on, he was listening to like Seal, but then he'll listen to DMX and all this shit at the same time. But the older he got, he stopped doing it. Same with video games. Like my dad used to play video. I used to watch him play Resident Evil and all that stuff. And then he was like, it's going to get a time where you're probably not going to play games like that no more. And I did. It was like I had to decide, do I want to buy a new console or buy music equipment, buy DJ stuff? So it's like, I just think that the older you get, your interests become more refined, and like music just becomes supplementary to everything else that you're doing. And again, I know a lot of people that do seek music and having the option to just search something or be recommended a song from somebody else based off of what you're listening to. I do think that that's cool. Especially when the libraries is not as popping with it. I'm sad that they started streaming their stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think for me, I'm just like, get with the times. Like
it's hard to take music off a CD anymore. There's
exactly.
No
I think they caught on to that shit.
But I think ultimately in an ideal world, if I could move it back to a direction, I think I would want it to be where the emphasis is more on the live music anyways. I think that the world of making music does not, the point of making music is not to put it on a CD. It's not to put it on streaming. It's to make music. And the most exciting part of music being made is when you get to experience the people who make it. Like look at how much concerts sell out now. Look at like even with the
That's
insane
ridiculous.
prices.
Those prices is crazy. Okay,
We're not gonna pull Ticketmaster into this. We all hate them. Ticketmaster,
Yo.
I'm saying your name multiple times to get it on here, so you know we hate you.
Oh, God.
But more what I mean is look at the amount of people who still go. Like the idea of live music has not been lost. The problem is that the importance is now spending thousands of dollars to see this one person really far away while you look at them on a screen instead of investing into the music in your area. Now, there are 1,000 venues that you can go see music in, all different sizes. There's some big, small, dive bars, the Holocene, like everything in between. There's all of these things. But they don't have the strongest foothold at the moment because, like you said, there is still a large amount of people who don't take in music the way we do. They don't seek out that because, why would they now? Because they have everything they would want in their pocket. They don't even have to turn on the radio and hope that it's not the same song on a different station than they heard from the first station they were at. They don't even have to play that roulette anymore. And I think that is devalued the joy that music can bring us.
I'll take it further though. The moment, again, like I said before, the moment they started commodifying music is when, so that's the thing is so even your favorite artists from way back when, things were already already shitty. Like,
oh yeah,
we again going back to being sold a lie. Like I wanted to make music just to make music. Yeah. But I also, as a kid, saw people that make music got to do this and this, and you know what I mean, and what was it Jay-Z was talking about? He had that song Allure with Pharrell, but he was talking about the allure of the game, and it's real. It's you get to this certain status. Again, I'm nowhere near those statuses. No. You start to see the same faces. The world is so big yet so small. I go to Mexico City or something like that, and I run into a bunch of people I know from here, from Atlanta, from wherever. We didn't even plan to run into each other. But it's the same with those industries, right? And so, the higher up you get, the more people-pleasing you got to do all these different things in order to, make sure people aren't blocking you to get to here or there or this or that. And yeah, you're not wrong when it comes to streaming and stuff. I'm not totally a huge streaming fan, but I also have learned to appreciate things where we are.
It's a necessary
evil. Know where we're trying to go. Yeah. What you were saying is oh, what would you like to redirect it to? I think the thing is as a community, earlier before we even started this conversation, we were talking about community, right? There's community and there's interest groups. Yeah. And I think a lot of times people get interest groups confused with community. People think that everybody needs to get along, and I'm not assuming that you think this way, but people say this is a safe space and this and that. I'm to tell somebody something's a safe space is a lie. There's always an anomaly of something happening in which you did not account for. Yeah. There's going to be a difference of opinion and all these things. There's going to be people that's riding for you for what you're saying. There's a bunch of people that's going to be I don't give a fuck. Yeah. And
I think we as people have always wanted to do art. Music is an art. The written form is an art. The visual form is an art. All of these things are arts. What they are not is a tangible, livable thing. So you don't need to eat music to process it so that your body can run. Right. But a life without music would be the worst. So we can agree that art is still a necessity.
Oh yeah.
But on the inside,
it heals. Yeah. It does a lot. Yeah. Frequencies. Yeah.
And I think when we introduced, like you said, when we commoditized it, when we added the dollar amount, the biggest problem that creates is that these are all made up numbers. How much was Kendrick's performance for the Super Bowl?
I don't think they get paid to do the Super Bowl.
No, but how much did it cost to make it?
Yeah, well, yeah. I don't know, a lot.
Hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah. but why? Like, and somebody can break it down. Somebody can itemize and give it to you. But like millions of dollars?
Well, the industry of music is also not to sell music, and it's never been.
No, it's always it's about the experience.
Well, it's also about
different parts of the experience.
It's also about selling other things. If we think about like hip hop and stuff, right? Like the reason why Black people spend the most money in this economy is because like we're conditioned to flaunt what we have. It's like the braggadociousness of rapping and things like that, having the chains, having the cars, all these different things, right? Not knowing that the car this artist is driving was gifted to them by the label, but it's in the label's name, so they can take it from you anytime they want to. Or the house, same thing.
Well, shoot, how many of those houses did they rent for MTV Cribs? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
for
not
sure.
even their real houses.
I loved how Ram Man was like, look, man.
He's moving the dude off the couch at one point. Yeah.
He's like, oh, you know, all you gotta do is put these wires together to ring the doorbell. Like, you know, he kept it real.
And I mean, I think that, you know, that is part of the ebb and flow in it all, is that the idea will be glamorized for a bit and then it will be pushed to the side when push comes to shove. But it doesn't get deleted. Like I said, just make space for the people who are looking at it more for the need to create than the need to be compensated. And
that's just hard because now it's like,
well, now
we were told that we can survive making art.
Well, now to the need to put a dollar sign on everything has kind of hurt society as a whole. Like, you know, before you went on social media because you wanted to see your friends. You wanted to see what they were doing. You wanted to share funny ha-has. You know, you'd follow that one silly page that kept posting stuff. Now, every single person that I know at some point in the last 6 months have been like, I think if I did this on the internet, I could make money. And you're like, what?
Why?
Why?
Because the way that our environment's set up, we need to survive. So how do we utilize?
Well, also we have developed this idea that everything we need to do has to make us money. It has to make us money, but it doesn't. Like,
but I think again, if people had everything they needed to be stable, then they wouldn't think that way. At least a good majority. I'm sure there's still people that's gonna be like greedy.
At what point does that line get crossed where it's the people who want more? And it's hard, you know, like you said, that there is not a safe space in these realms because they are not. The art is not the space.
Even the word art is an issue to me because, like, I think there's a time, for example, if you make clothes, that's like a form of art, right? If you
design clothes.
What I'm saying is back in the day, you had people that processed the cotton or whatever else and made clothes, right? If we look at it from today's lens, we will say that's art.
Well, again,
they make art, but that was just a service in society that helped the society run. So I think the issue is everybody's trying to do everything versus doing their thing.
Yes, and that circles way back to what we were saying before.
So it's like, for me, it's all about purpose. Like I said before, like I didn't want to be standing in front of people DJing or doing all. I don't. I'm still getting. The moment I start playing the music, I just zone out and I'm in my zone. But like again, I'm not a performer, but I know that. Like somebody literally told me that when I play music, it's like medicine to them. Also, when you're talking about meditation, I wanted to bring up like I teach yin yoga. One of the things that people always say about my classes is the playlist. So it goes back to the music being in other spaces that's not traditionally what I normally did as far as like being at bars and stuff. So the moment I said, hey, I want to be able to still love what I do with music, but like take it into other realms. Like then that came and that fell in my lap. I wasn't trying to teach yin yoga.
No.
Somebody was like, hey, take my class. And then after the second class, it was like, you should teach. I'm like, I never did yoga before. She's like, I follow the things you talk about and just like your life path. And like, I think you should really do it. And like, it's been about a year. And I would say that yin is a good way of meditation, especially for people that have a hard time sitting and meditating. It's like, you know, the holds are longer, so it's like, you know, 3 to 5 minutes and things like that. And so like while you're doing the holds, you know, for me, I'm literally like mind over matter. You know, if you're certain poses that might hurt a little bit, I'm just like breathing. You're working on your breath, which is very important. So it's like, yeah, it's like a mixture of meditation, stretching, and breath work at the same time. That's like the trifecta of all you really need. And I was like, you know, breath work alone in the morning, you wouldn't even need coffee.
Yeah.
Like, that's just the crazy thing is like, there's a lot of things we do have that our bodies can process and like convert to energy and stuff like that. And I just think, yeah, we have to just simplify life, which goes back to what you're saying about too many options.
Yep.
But I would even say like globalization is an issue, which sucks because I love the fact that I can like connect with somebody overseas and stuff. But the reality is, I don't think we were necessarily meant to.
No, never. Like that's what I was saying.
So that's everything. Like the streaming is just a reflection of everything else. Yeah.
No, this is very much chicken.
Yeah.
Like, we aren't supposed to be able to talk to people thousands of miles away. It's nice that we can.
Yeah, like I'm not hating it. But at the same time, I'm like, damn.
We're supposed to be existing in the world in front of us. Thousands of miles away is not in front of us, even though those people are important. They can be, you know, there's not to lessen the importance of the reasons.
Yeah.
But the reality is that to be as present as we can be, we can't be present of things thousands of miles away. We have to be present in the now.
Yeah.
We have to be, you know, acknowledging our neighbor. We have to be acknowledging our community. Our community is not like, you know, like outside of the music, the community itself is the road you take to work every day, the grocery store where you go and the cashier knows your name. Like those are the spaces that you actually can impact. And when you continue to make impacts in those areas, it benefits all the way around. But we as people live in the grandiose, and that I think is where, you know, you get people like, you know, Taylor Swift, who just did the world's biggest tour in the history of tours.
I know nothing about that.
I know that it's a big deal. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to it, but like, we will always want those things, and the need for more is human, and that's fine to a degree. But and I guess there's really no way to wrap this up. We're going to have to wrap it up now because we've been running.
Oh, my bad.
We've been running for a real long time. And I just said, gotta stop at some point. But this has probably been one of the most engaging episodes I've had because we just left the questions behind and really kind of dug into it. So to close it out a little bit, I do have a couple foundation questions I like to check in with everybody on. I'm going to ask you one of them because I would love to know this answer. If you could get one more album from anybody, they could be alive, they could be dead, they could have not put out an album in 100 years, they could have put out an album yesterday. Who would you want an album from?
Bro, I don't know if I can answer that question. I can tell you why I don't think I can answer that question, but I don't think I can answer that question.
That's all right. Why can't you answer the question?
Because there's a lot of artists I like. But I usually like their first 2 to 3 albums. And if they continue to make albums after that, it's not that they're terrible or anything. It's just either I grew out of it or they've grown. And this is the thing I realized, like going from a lover of music and art and being the artist is I used to be that cat that'd be like, man, the first 2 albums were dope. Why does this third album sound like this? Not realizing that they went through either some sort of growth process or just the tour life and that stuff affected it. It's like the stuff that made them so real and raw was prior to going through those rooms and those doors and having to like schmooze people or whatever it might be.
Yeah, they had to make it something that would cut through.
And then what people don't realize is like a lot of times the first major album was probably like their third album, fourth album.
They have plenty of work prior.
Nobody knew about.
Yeah.
And so I really feel like that 2 to 3 album run, when they like get like a major deal or just start to get popular, like that's their peak. That's their prime. Like, yeah, man, I think a better question would be like who I would want to see live, dead or alive.
Who would you want to see live?
Well, I did get to see Roy Ayers before he passed.
Oh, hell yeah.
Man, there's a couple. I wish I could have saw Kill Switch Engage when they had the not the original singer. I think the original singer is now the singer again.
Yeah, I think he came back.
What was the other guy's name?
I'm the worst with names.
The black guy.
Yeah. During the Holy Diver.
Yeah,
like that era.
Yeah, he came as Daylight Dies album. He came.
There we go. I was trying to remember the name of the album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who else?
God, that would be. I think what's
that would be crazy.
There was a point in time where the band that he was in after Kill Switch Engage, they were touring together.
Yeah.
And he came out during songs. And apparently, this is just something I read that I thought was funny. People got more excited when he came out during the Kill Switch set.
He's a better singer.
He is a phenomenal singer.
And I started listening to Kill Switch Engage before he got on.
Yeah.
Because I used to, like, when you're talking about the iPods and stuff, I think Roadrunner Records and, like, some other, like, labels had, like, visual podcasts. Remember? Because podcasts first started on Apple.
Yeah.
And they used to do, that's when I came across the Kill Switch. But, yeah. Also, I would have liked to seen Coldplay back in the Parachutes, Rush of Blood to the Head era. And I would want to see them at the Red Rocks.
Yeah.
And we can leave it at that for now.
That is all right. That is I appreciate that change up to the question, so thank you. But we're going to go ahead and start wrapping this up. So go ahead, look straight at your camera, tell everybody how they can find you.
Hi guys, this is VNPRT. If you want to check out what I have going on, you can check me out on Instagram at VNPRT. Thank you.
Hell yeah. And then any other plugs, any other shout outs, anybody else you want to put on while you're on here?
You should check out Eric Fury. You're familiar with that person?
No, not offhand.
Yeah, my homie. Yeah, he Eric Fury, Amari Jazz. I mean, there's a lot of homies, honestly. I think it would be really dope if you like tapped in with the local record shop. So I'll shout out Specs Records. The homies.
Yeah, Wrong Record.
Are they located? Are they in Vancouver?
Yeah, they support the show.
Okay, cool. So one of these days I'm gonna hit you up. We should stop by. I saw the one of the videos. The place looks beautiful.
Yeah, the new spot now that it's on ground level 2.
Okay.
Super choice.
Clinton Street Records, Passenger Seat Records. Actually, I got the Passenger Seat Records sweatshirt on right now. Latia Yafe, really dope cafe. What's that intersection? It's like Cooch and MLK essentially, or whatever. Really good crepes, really good coffee, gallery. That's it.
Yeah. All right, now with that being said, I've got one last question to go. But before we do, I'm gonna steal the camera for just a second.
Cool.
As always, y'all, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And one more shout out to the Brothers Apothecary, Round Records, and Boiling Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, the final question. And this is entirely up to your interpretation. But in all of music, what is an album you feel is more on the obscure side? So it's a bit of a deep cut. It's one not a lot of people would know, but it's one you think people should know.
The Pinback has an album called This Is Pinback.
Okay.
Or This Is a Pinback CD is what they called it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I dig that. Well, thank you for that rec. With that being said, we're going to go and wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And this has been another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. I'm Jimmy.
I'm VNPRT.
And we're signing off. Later, y'all. That's a wrap.
This is not a podcast. This is a show. Keep jamming.